Day 1192 of the Ukrainian War Map, also known as the Russo-Ukrainian War. Juzzie here, and today is another update as I take a simplified and down-to-earth approach to some of the most important happenings on the ground in Ukraine. So starting off, we'll take a look at those Russian losses, as currently Russia sits on more than 986,000 military personnel losses, representing an additional 1,140 in the past day. Then as for hardware, 1 tank, 2 APVs, 35 artillery platforms, 1 rocket launcher, and 1 air defense system. And as for the losses that we don't see as part of the daily stats update, the Russian banks that are under strain, with foreign investment vanishing, and above all, the cannibalizing of their sovereign wealth fund to hold it all together. With Russia using the National Wealth Fund to support and recapitalize its own banks, especially since 2022, with a growing chunk now sunk into keeping state lenders afloat instead of cash in hand, and with the wealth fund previously peaking at 7 trillion rubles, or about 150 billion USD, has since been crumbling down to about 39 billion USD, with very little indication of a reversal of trends here. Then to the map, with another string of democracy-loving freedom UAV birds sweeping over several parts of Russia overnight, though not at the levels that we're usually accustomed to seeing over the very past week, which surely reflects how Russian officials continue to dictate the terms and timing of peace negotiations, with the upcoming bilateral peace talks between Russia and Ukraine next week in Istanbul, always having the effect of Ukraine cooling down on deep strikes into Russia. But still, we saw some activity in Oryol, Lipetsk, Tambov, and other regions, and how air travelers in Russia are in a frenzy over flight restrictions across much of the country's populated western regions, ironically oblivious to the fact that Ukrainian passenger flights vanished entirely after Russia's full-scale invasion. Then deeper into the map we go, with some activity noted in Kursk, with a claimed shootdown of a UAV. Oh, and being on the Kursk front, a Ukrainian FPV drone struck a fully loaded Russian BM-21 Grad rocket launcher, with an atomizing detonation on display. Then headed far to the east at the Russian port city of Vladivostok, where 2 explosions occurred during a Pacific Fleet military exercise, leading security forces to block the road into the bay following the event, with the cause of the event unknown, but it follows a string of always very regular and mysterious fires on the other side of Russia. Then headed back west, though not related entirely to UAV threats, or not even at all, where Deputy Mayor Gertsiev, a former major of the Russian Air Force, has been reported by Russian media as no longer in his post, kaput, as they say, after an unexpected incident. Reports say an unidentified individual set off a device during an altercation targeting Gertsiev, and for some background history here, the major was involved in missile guidance systems and linked to strikes in Mariupol, including the ones targeting the drama theatre. Then to the main map and to a very brief look at the northern Sumy sector. No changes noted in the past day, but also worthy of a mention here is the tricky terrain for either side, especially for anyone performing offensive operations, with topographical features amounting to an uphill raid for Russians right now, which also has the effect of making the only real defensive fortifications on the Ukrainian side just a bit beyond the P44 highway. Then to the Kupiansk direction, where we see Russians versus Russians. In this case, it's the anti-Kremlin Russian Volunteer Corps that's now long operated in the northern regions. On this occasion, one of the tasks set for the Russian Volunteer Corps within this direction was to storm a small forest area with dugouts and trenches of the enemy Russian forces, leading to a successful cleanup operation. But now to the much wider Eastern Front, because against renewed Russian attack efforts coming out of spring into summer, Ukraine has not been idle, but rather building the new Donbas line, defense fortifications indicated in red there, which stretches from Kharkiv city to Vilna Pola in Zaporizhia, and is the culmination of years of hard-fought experience in drone and trench warfare. In some sections, it's reportedly already capable of withstanding full-force Russian attacks, Likely that's in the Pokrovsk direction. Now, the wider open source intelligence community gives it the unofficial name of the new Donbas line because it covers a massive 350 kilometers from north to south. That's about 220 odd miles. This line has a couple of characteristics which meets the common expectation. It's built on terrain of positions that make sense to defend behind, such as rivers, on dominant hills, and other topographical choke points. But more than that, it's anchored by the independence of the singular defense position, meaning to say that there are no massive trench rings that, if captured, cause the collapse and outflanking of the whole defensive line. There are instead hundreds of 60-meter long T-shaped systems, making it nearly impossible for a single breakthrough to unravel the entire front. It's a diligent plan crafted for the harshest of contingencies, prepared for a very worst-case scenario outcome, which is realistically something that Russia should probably be setting up their own plan on too. Then further into the Donbas map, the AFU advanced slightly south of Vasykivka in the Bakhmut direction. Then moving all the way across to Odessa, where seen was a drone fragment that hit the city, with a fragment date stamp made in 1968. Russia has already been observed using very old stocks of parts, including engines, actuators, or airframe segments, from legacy Soviet-era systems in new drone production. It's possible this is a component, likely a bearing, housing, engine casing, or similar part, originally manufactured for an older vehicle, aircraft, or missile, and has now been repurposed for use in a drone. Now, as it happens, the reverse is true for Russian cruise missile fragments, shown to have newer and newer dates on their components, signaling their almost immediate use right out of the factory. It could all remind you of the start of the invasion, where Russia went heavy on utilizing the thousands of stockpiled S-300 missiles for firing into Ukrainian ground targets. These were missiles designed for air defense, and very likely swallowed up now by previous years' attacks. But above all, something Russia could really do with now, as the S-300 missiles were their largest single source of air defense missiles, which were recklessly wasted on ground targets. Then taking a brief look around the map as more examples of fiber optic drones of the AFU's 28th Brigade, destroying hangars and Russian equipment from the inside. Then also, soldiers of the Berevyi Brigade have destroyed a Russian field depot of fuel and lubricants, always a fiery target. Then there's the following footage of a Russian mortar, a small artillery piece, ousted by FPV, located as a result of insufficient sheltering techniques. Then to jump into some news, with Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zakharova confirming that Russia's delegation for the June 2nd negotiations in Istanbul between Russia and Ukraine for the next bout of bilateral talks will remain unchanged from the last event, with being headlined by presidential aide Medensky. US representatives, including Special Envoy Keith Kellogg, will attend the Russia-Ukraine peace talks alongside officials from Germany, France, and the UK, signaling a partial unified Western approach amid the evolving diplomatic landscape. Russia has also stated they will present at the meeting a memorandum addressing the war's root causes. Forgive my skepticism, but it sounds like we're back to square one with a third-tier Russian delegation just repeating the old Kremlin talking points. Ukraine will almost certainly brush off Russia's root causes memorandum as just more propaganda, and beyond a flat-out denial, they'll probably look to challenge every point, demanding specifics and actual evidence for any Russian claims. So ultimately, what was supposed to be a peace memorandum designed to make steps towards a long and lasting peace is now shaping up to be a blame memorandum from Russia, offering little in the way of substance, providing Russia a further opportunity for more stalling games as they look to assess the outcome of their summer campaign activities in Ukraine. Then to some Ukrainian hardware news, as Ukraine's battlefield just got smarter. For the first time, Ukrainian forces have deployed Smart Pilot, a long-range mother drone powered by AI, built locally and announced by Digital Transformation Minister Fedorov, Flying up to 300 kilometers behind enemy lines, it launches 2 FPV strike drones that navigate and target autonomously, with cameras, LiDAR, and AI as mentioned there. No GPS or pilots needed. And at just $10,000 US dollars per mission, with a reusable mothership, it's a bargain next to traditional missiles costing into the millions. Oh, and let's not forget, immune to electronic warfare countermeasures, all thanks to the AI targeting and navigation. So it's a big official step in Ukraine's technological innovation in the battlefield. And after this, and not far away, is entire swarms of fully wireless AI-integrated frontline FPV drones that will surely make their mark on this war in ways not seen before. It's that serious. Then headed across to a super quick Russian military mobilization blunder, and something we should have all seen coming, as wives of the Russian service members of recent POW swaps say their husbands were stripped of their phones and belongings, shoved into Kamaz trucks, and sent straight back to the SMO. Surprise, surprise. Russia is doing POW swaps not for the humanity. They're doing it for themselves, the Russian MOD that is. Essentially, this is what a Putin-style POW exchange looks like. If you survive captivity, your reward is a one-way trip back to the trenches. Survival isn't honored in Russia, it's punished. Then to a quick Russian hardware segment to end out the video. Hard to know where to put this one, so here we go. A new Russian design emerged to combat against Ukrainian FPVs. This one has the design of a rotating blade system to protect vehicles against FPVs. We're looking at 6 1-meter long blades rotating at 600 RPM, providing standoff distance from a shaped charge FPV warhead, or at least that's apparently the hope. Oh, I never even mentioned the best part. And as you can plainly see, designed for the Russian army's mainstay, the Buhanka van. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks again for watching. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, and I do hope to see all of you guys there in the next one. Cheers!